Hi everyone, this is Aki with another tax video going over the tax tables and how to read them, as well as how to calculate your tax due if your taxable income is above 100,000, because these tables only refer to income up to 100,000. So these tables can be found in the 1040 instructions. So you can see that this is 1040 instructions, and if you scroll down to table of contents, you can click on the tax tables to get to the tax tables. Now, this calculation goes on line 16 of your 1040. So here I have the 1040 form for 2021, and if you scroll down, you do the calculation based on your wages, you deduct standard deduction and some other calculations, and then you get to taxable income, line 15. And this is the amount that we're going to reference in order to find the tax due that goes on line 16. So the number that you get from line 15 is what you have to use to read the tax tables. So at the very top, it tells you if line 15 taxable income is certain amount, then you will find out how much tax you have to put on line 16 based on your filing status. So you can notice that you have the filing statuses listed here. You have single, married filing jointly, married filing separately, head of household. Now you may wonder where's qualified widower. You have this star, this asterisk right there next to married filing jointly, and if you scroll down, it says that this column must also be used by qualifying widower. So this column refers to married filing jointly status as well as qualified widower. Now let's say if your taxable income on line 15 is, let's say 35,000. So let's scroll down. You have to scroll down until you see 35,000 in one of the big rows, like in these bold letters. So let's say we have right there. But you know what? Let's just do a number that's easier for us to read the taxable table. So let's say 33,000. So 33,000, let's say you find this number right here. So this means that this section of the table is going to refer to the 33,000 income levels, and you will see that it's saying at the top at least 33,000, but less than 3350. So if we exactly have 33,000, this is the row we would use. But if you have less than 33,000, let's say 29,999, you would have to go to this section of the table. So once you find your row in between, what's your income level, at least to below a certain amount, then you go to the right and find your filing status. If we're single, this is the first section that we will look. Okay, right here. We know that if we make between 33,000 and 3350, and in our case we have 33,000, and we're single, that means our tax liability is 3,764. If you married filing jointly, you will notice that tax liability is less, 3,565. If you married filing separately, it's actually the same as for single. And if you head of household, your tax liability is for single and for married filing jointly. So this is the amount that basically would go on line 16 of your 1040. Again, this is based on line 15, which is where you figure out your taxable income from your 1040. And you're trying to figure out what's your tax that should go on line 16. And this is where you go to the instruction of 1040 to tax tables, and you use the tax table to make this calculation. Reference the calculation that's already done for you. So again, you just look at what's your amount from line 15, you find your row and you want to make sure that it's that amount or below other amount, and all of them are between $50 difference. You can see it goes from $33,000, $33,50, $33,50 to $33,100, and so on. And each of the section differs. Each of the section of the table goes up by 1,000. So you have 33,000, then 34,000, 35,000, and so on. Now, what happens if you get to 100,000? If your line 15 says you're over 100,000 in taxable income, I mean, that's great, good problem to have. But if you are over 100,000, you have to use actually something else. You have to use this tax computation worksheet. So this is the tax computation worksheet, and I actually put that in Excel to make it easier for you to see how the calculation works. So I just copied over this tax computation worksheet, and you can see that it's the same thing. So it's just easier for us to calculate. So you have taxable income here, then you put the amount from line 15, then you multiply by tax rate, and then you subtract certain amount. So here is the calculation. So let's say in our example, instead of 35,000, we had 135,000 as your taxable income. So you first have to find what's your status. So you see each of these tables, there's actually each different table and calculations for different filing statuses. So single, married filing jointly, or qualified widower, married filing separately, and head of household. So you want to make sure you're using the right table because the calculation will be off. So let's go for our single person here. So taxable income 135. So we have to find taxable income, what it is on line 15. We know it's 135, and it says, each of the rows says, okay, if you made at least 100,000 but not over 164,000, which is our case, use this row. So we will use this row calculation. So in our case, I'll put enter the amount from line 15, 135,000. Now multiplication. So let me just extend this because it's kind of cut off. So now this amount has to be multiplied by 24%. Now I just put that second row here just so I have a calculation because this is entered as text, so it would not work. So 24%. So this is the calculation that's made. It's taking that 135,000 multiplied by 24%, and what do we get? 32,400. Now this is not the tax amount that goes on line 16. It's actually, you have to subtract this amount from the ones that we just calculated in column F. So we take the 32,400, subtract the 5,979, and we get amount of 26,421. And so that would go on line 16. Now, this is one way of doing the calculation. If you go to the booklet, also at the very end, there's an additional way to calculate tax, and it's like on page, it's almost at the very end, 110 of the 221 instructions. And these are tax rate schedules, and this is kind of like a shortened way of doing the calculation. And basically the same thing, you have to find your table for your filing status: single, married filing jointly, and qualified widower, married filing separately, head of household. And here on the left, you will have certain amounts, as well as you will have these tax rates listed right here: 10%, 12%, 22%. These are the tax brackets that we refer to. So you can see the tax brackets for 2021 start from 10% and can go up to 37%. And in this case, the way this is calculated, it's like this. If your taxable income is certain amount but not over another amount, which is kind of referring to how the tax tables were working. So you have to find your amount. So in our case, we have 135,000. So we know it's between 86 thousand and 164,000. So this is the row we'll be using. Then it's saying the tax is 14,751 plus 24% of the amount over 86,000. So you have to make sure you know that this is not 24% of this, of the 86,000, but 24% of your amount that might be between the 164 and 86,000. So let me show you how this works in Excel. So here I have this calculation. So now we have this. This is our row we're going to be using for 135,000. It's between 164 and 86. So we take the 14,000 right here plus 24% right there of the amount over 86. So what I do here, I do calculation, say 135, subtract the 86 to figure out how much it's over the 86,000. And so basically, in our case, it's 48,000 over 86,000. And that's the amount that you multiply by 24%. And in our case, right here, we have 24 times 48,000. That's 11,670. So now you have to still remember that this is just partial calculation. So you still have to add the 14,000 that we have listed right there. So the total is 26,421, which is exactly what we did and got when we did the calculation using the tax computation worksheet, which was in earlier section. So these are the two ways you can do the calculation, whichever is easier. This first one is a little bit simpler in the sense that it does step by step. Here in the second one, you have to kind of keep track and make the calculation yourself, some of it. So it can be prone more to errors if you're not doing it correctly. But whichever one works. So that's a easy way to do the calculation. So again, this just is the tax calculation, goes line 16 based on how much taxable income you had on line 15 right here. So hopefully this clarifies some of the calculation. You can always use some calculators online. There's many tax calculators online that you can use, that you can put in the numbers and you don't have to do it manually. But if you want to understand how it's done, this is the way to do it. So thanks so much for watching.